Hi, I'm Raquel Werk with the Principled Teacher. I'm starting a new adventure here in my town, and it is going to be a homeschool program that I call Maui Christian Homeschool. This will be for grades 4 through 6, and today I'm going to be talking about the meaning of a liberal arts education. This is our philosophy and methodology for what we do in our homeschool program. One of the things I want to start with is a quick look at some of the facts about education in our country. Since the beginning of America, we have believed in freedom, independence, and biblical truth. Many families prioritized education for boys and girls. Do you happen to know what America's first college is? That would be Harvard. It was started in 1636 as a seminary for students to learn the Bible and become a pastor. Over the years, obviously, it lost its foundation. And lastly, in 1832, education became a state-controlled program governed by progressive ideas of humanism and secularism. So with that in mind, let's first start off our discussion of a liberal arts education by looking at the definition from the 1828 dictionary that Noah Webster wrote. It says, education, coming from the Latin word educatio, means the bringing up as of a child, instruction, formation of manners. So education here in this definition has to do with children and bringing them up by teaching them. Then it goes on to further explain education comprehends all that series of instruction and discipline which is intended to enlighten the understanding, correct the temper, and form the manners and habits of youth, and fit them for usefulness in their future stations. To give children a good education in manners, arts and science is important, but to give them a religious education is indispensable. This definition is pack-loaded with all kinds of understanding about what education should be. The most important education we can give our children is a religious education. So let's recap and identify what the principle is that we can learn from this definition. Education brings children up in manners and habits through instruction and discipline that prepares them for the future. Now let's take a look at the definition for liberal. It comes from the Latin liberalis, from liber, which means free, of a free heart, free to give or bestow, bountiful, generous. It expresses less than profuse or extravagant, generous, ample, large, not selfish, narrow or contracted, general, extensive, embracing literature and the sciences generally as a liberal education. So we can see from this definition that liberal has to do with being free, free to learn all the subjects, free to be prepared to enter any career path. So what's the summation and principle here from this definition? A liberal education is one that is free, generous, large, not self-centered, and extensive. A liberal arts education is where children can be brought up in all the subjects and have a broad and large understanding of the world that is not centered on themselves, but centered on God. The next thing we're going to look up is the definition of the word arts. Art comes from the Latin ars or artis, the disposition, method, or arrangement of things by human skill, a system of rules serving to facilitate the performance of certain actions as the art of building or engraving. And lastly, number 3, skill, dexterity, or the power of performing certain actions acquired by experience, study, or observation. And you can also see further in gray that arts is divided into 2 different categories, the useful or the mechanical, and the liberal or the polite. Art has to do with both the hands and body and the mind and imagination. Both are performing certain actions and involved in developing the skills of the mind and body. So let's take a look at the principle here from this definition and tie it all together. A liberal arts education is one that develops the skills students need to perform certain actions that prepare them for any future path of service. According to Hillsdale College, they say that a liberal arts education frees us from ignorance and confusion, from prejudice and delusion, and from the wild passions and fanciful hopes that can degrade and destroy us. It liberates by making us rational, allowing us to see the world clearly and honestly. They also add the importance of a moral education. A moral education makes us self-reliant and responsible, capable of governing ourselves and taking part in the self-government of our community. So there's this connection between a liberal arts education and the impact it can have for us internally and externally in our society. Now let's take a look at their sample high school scope and sequence. You can see that a 9th grader is studying geometry and then algebra 2 and then moving on to trigonometry and calculus. How many of you were able to attain trigonometry and calculus in high school? Certainly not me, being raised in a public school. For science, they're studying biology, chemistry, physics, and other advanced sciences. I don't think I got past biology in my public school education. Let's look at the literature. They're studying ancient literature, medieval and British literature, American literature, and modern literature. I don't even remember studying literature in high school when I was growing up. And then for history/civics, they study the ancient world, Europe, introduction to moral and political philosophy. They study American history, modern history, and American government. Wow. If my high schoolers can reach this potential, that would be amazing. So here is a list of some of the courses we'll be studying in Maui Christian Homeschool to help prepare your children for their future. We're definitely going to provide a moral education from an academic perspective by studying the Bible. And reading is so important. If our students can't read well, they won't be able to understand the Bible or any other texts. Then we'll cover the skills of spelling, grammar, vocabulary, and writing. This is where we're teaching the students to think critically about how exactly to do these specific skills. Then you can see we are going to have literature, history, and science to cover all the basics of the world's knowledge that God put out there for us to learn. And lastly, we're going to cover math. The way we teach math at Maui Christian Homeschool is by working on specific concepts until the children have mastery. These are short lessons that they can practice every day until they reach mastery and are able to use it in higher skills. Those are the courses of study in our homeschool program. One of the main emphasis of our program is elevating the soul and spirit, preparing students for future service. The main focus of education is not about being ready for college or career, being the smartest student in America, or finding yourself. The main focus of education in our program is about becoming the man or woman God intended us to be as individuals and those who live in a society, learning the greatest ideas from the greatest minds in history and the present, focused on the Bible, Western thinking, and the liberal mind. And last, seeing the meaning of life through a biblical worldview. Students will learn who is God, what is man, why are we here, what is good, true, and valuable in this world, and this will be applied in every subject. Our mission is about being committed to Christ. We serve Christian homeschool parents by offering academic support in their homeschool. We teach students in grades 4 through 8 the skills they need to reach their God-given potential in a nurturing and supportive environment 3 days a week. We are not a school. We are a support for homeschool parents who want to give their kids an education with a homeschool style. Our vision and goal is about being grounded in Christ. We strive to cultivate in our students the ability to reason with the mind of Christ, walk in the character of Christ, and fulfill the commission of Christ. Our commitment is to the gospel of Jesus Christ as we provide opportunities for students and parents to put Christ at the center of their family, education, and life purpose. Our curriculum is the courses of study. Literature and history are going to be taught because they teach us who we are and our purpose in the world. Math and science teach us how the world is ordered and how to create and build a strong foundation for the future. Reading and writing give us the ability to communicate, relate, and serve others well. And last but not least, the most important subject, Bible. Bible helps us to know God, connect with our higher purpose in this life, and discover the way to true freedom through a liberal arts education. And the plan is that you would send your kids to be taught by me 3 days a week as I provide moral, social, and intellectual instruction. You can see me as an extension of the home, but tailor-made for the individuality of your child. Then 2 days a week, the students will have homework and practice where you as the parent can be involved in their education and reinforce the progress that your child is making. So if this seems like a program you'd be interested in, I would love to hear about you. Email me at raquelwerk@theprincipledteacher.com. Thanks for watching, and I hope to hear from you soon.